Got cut off on my last video. My battery died. Today I just cannot tell the time by the sun. It's been exactly like this from the time I woke up. It's probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I have no idea what time. It's just a gloomy, gloomy day. When I tell people why wind and solar don't necessarily work around here in the wintertime, well, there's the flagpole. There's no wind. Obviously, the solar isn't going to work. But anyway, just one of those things. So we have to come up with different solutions to different problems. And I wanted to just finish up on my World War III update for 2013 going into 2014 in a couple of days from the making of this video. And I just wanted to say that we really need to prioritize what our real threats are in this world and what the real problems are. First threat, you could say, is communism, because that's what's kind of communism light, progressivism, whatever you want to say, authoritarianism, all those things that are coming from a very handful of people that is dictating over the populations of people, because a handful of people think that people are too stupid to self-rule and stuff like that. No, I'm not one of those utopian type of people that think, well, everybody can just go about their business, because I know that just does not work. Long before we've had modern day governments, every form of government has failed at some point in history. Every form. But we're at a time in history where we have the technology to be the most enlightened. And the most enlightening part of technology is education. Basically, the more you know, the less you need. So this is why I do all the videos that I do on World War III updates. Very uncomfortable subject and stuff like that, and there's just so many things to cover that you just can't cover it. You can't fast sum it up, hence why my videos are typically so long, and hence why I do mini series. I do like parts 1 to, so there's some mini series I did 15 parts to, because for those who really want to be informed and know what's going on in the world, just to give you the fast kind of news bite, they did this, they did that. You need to understand why they're doing that to really paint a very clear picture of what the elites are up to, what all these struggling factions, whether they're religious, whether they're just corruption, whether it's actual power struggles. There's so many different factions that play into this, and we need to prioritize when most governments right now, because we do know that there's some snowmobilers that media is pretty much bought and paid for. Hence why you're not seeing the important things that could threaten humanity on the tube as much. It's and this is why people are stepping away from mainstream media is because it's not that a lie is a lie, but a lie by omission is even worse. Because a lie by omission is keeping you uninformed of what's going on. Now, a lot of people, again, that I talk to that know me personally, they never want to touch this subject because it's such a dark subject, even darker than what today is. You know what I mean? This would be, a beautiful day in a nuclear holocaust. You know what I mean? It would be much darker than this, with radioactive clouds just kind of blowing all over the place. Not to mention that, it would just be, kind of, well, it wouldn't be good. So what I tell people is, again, I started this probably in 2011, maybe 2012. Don't be afraid to go over some of those old videos, because those old videos really do start the ball rolling for the dot connecting. Now, again, my history is basically, I've been following this stuff since I was a kid. It's just now I'm able to follow it because, there's cameras everywhere, there's media everywhere, there's, whistleblowers everywhere, and it's all converging on the technology that's available. If a nuclear war were to happen, which it will, the thing is that we lose all that technology pretty much overnight, and then we go back to the Stone Age and we repeat the same cycle again. The point here is to get people to bring us into a new age of thinking, so that, yes, the corrupt politicians now, like your Rockefellers and your Rothschilds and all those kind of type, in the George Soroses of the world, all those real evil people, they're going to be a bygone era. They are. Because if we educate the kids, say, look, just don't turn out like that, because this is what these people are doing. You wouldn't want that done to you. And calling people out is one of the best things you could ever do. Honesty is the best policy. That's always been my philosophy of life. Stick with it. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of people don't want to listen to this subject and stuff like that. But what I am finding is, I'm even finding friends that I haven't talked to in a long time are, hey, I remember you. Yeah, good series. Very enlightening. Stuff like that. And It's stuff that people won't talk about around the dinner table or out in public. I mean, yeah, you go to a party, you start talking about thermonuclear war. Yeah, you're going to be the buzzkill of the party big time. You know what I mean? So I don't do that, but I do make videos so when people are in the comforts of their own home, they can just kind of listen, take it in. They can agree with me, they can disagree with me, they can point out things that I've got wrong, they can point out the things that I've got right. But at the end of the day, it's not about living in fear. It's about living with the knowledge of knowing what's potential, the understanding human history, understanding world events and how things come to be, and just understanding that. So in order to, once you know about something, then you need to prioritize what is the important thing to do. Well, nuclear disarmament. I mean, all the other weapons I really don't care about. Chemical weapons, even them, I don't really care about as much. They're horrible, they shouldn't exist, but, you know, a nuke versus an anthrax, like it's the devastation that is left behind the blast. Yes, anthrax. A Scud missile with an anthrax on it will ruin a village. You'll never be able to live there again. But at least you can live on the outskirts of that village. You know, so it is something to strive for. But the priority is, to get rid of nukes. That's basically why I do these type of videos. It is a form of activism, but by informing. So don't be afraid to talk to people about it, but don't push it on people too much because it is so uncomfortable. A lot of people they don't want to deal with the reality that, monsters don't just exist in closets. So, the proper thing to do is just give them a place where they could at least find out about it so that they could, eventually get that courage to step up and say something against it. Not that there's not enough people and organizations out there that are trying to do away with these insane weapons. But the thing is again, I'll use the Duck Dynasty as in the making of this video. I mean, in a year's time, you probably won't even know what I'm talking about. But, everybo's pretty much voicing their opinion on that. I think you should be voicing your, not that that's not an issue itself, but the real issue is thermonuclear war. The writing is on the wall. We've never been so close to an accidental thermonuclear war to break out in history. Not even during the Cold War, where we had the intense levels of this time. In the Cold War, you had to worry about basically Russia and the United States. Now you have about 10 other countries to worry about. And several thousands of bombs later. So as we can see, like it's gotten worse. It has not gotten better. And then with the destabilization of the Middle East, the destabilization of Africa, the already destabilized South America, and the collapse of the mythical collapse of the Soviet Union. It never collapsed because the military equipment that's coming out now, with like the new Boris class submarines, these things are billions and billions of dollars. Where did that money come from? In a so-called collapsed economy. You know what I mean? So all they did is the same thing the Americans are doing right now, is they're diverting the wealth to the system. They're taking it away from the people. They're doing this in Europe. They're doing this. They've done this already in South America. It's all communists and dictators down there. And people got used to living under those kind of rules. But there's people around the world. We'll use Egypt, for example. Egypt's starting its civil war. The media isn't covering it like that, but they didn't cover Syria as a civil war. It took them 2 years to call it a civil war. You know what I mean? By the time, okay, I guess at 50,000 dead, we'll call it a civil war. It doesn't really work like that, but that's what they did. And, anybody that, they will not state the obvious until they have to state the obvious, So you can't rely on the mainstream media. So therefore, you need to really do your own homework. Listen to all sides of the story, but pay it forward. You gotta spread videos like this around. Unfortunately, my videos don't go viral. They don't go viral enough. Why? There's a lot of people, and I know why they don't go viral. It's an uncomfortable, dark subject. People won't share it to their Facebook. They won't share it on their other social medias because they just don't want to be labeled as that kind of conspiracy theory. Again, like that analogy I said, if you had cancer, there's a lot of things you would have to, fears you would have to face up to. You'd go to the doctor because you'd want to be cured of this thing. You'd also want to make sure that, that would torture your head. It would put your, you'd be stressed, you'd be scared, but you would have to face it head on. Well, this is the same problem, the same type of problem where you have to face it head on. It's not something you would want to face head on. But the first step is paying that knowledge forward. You now know. What are you going to do with that knowledge? Keep it to yourself? No. Do you have loved ones? Do you care, about humanity? Do you really, really want to die of radiation poisoning? I don't think so. So why aren't you sharing this around again? You know what I mean? Even if you make your own videos. I mean, pay it forward. To me, at first, when I first started, I made an awful lot of World War III update videos on my YouTube before I started sharing them to my social media. Now, my Facebooks and stuff like that, I don't add you unless I know you personally. Nothing personal, but it's just, that's the. But all my friends, I'm like, because I care for my friends, I posted my stuff to the Facebook on a daily basis. I thought, how do I do this? Because they're just going to think, oh, he just lost his mind. And I said, well, that's part of the courage, isn't it? I mean, I'm telling the people that the world isn't flat anymore. I might get some ridicule for that, and that's fine. I'm telling them that, you know what? The boogeyman got out of the closet. And there's probably 23,000 to 140,000 of them running around. If I were me, I would say, you're nuts. I am not listening to that guy. He has to be nuts, because if that's true, man, that's too terrifying. No, he's nuts. Yeah, no, he's crazy. No, because if that's true, then again, it's a nightmare. I don't want to live that nightmare. No, you're just nuts. You see what I mean? It kind of goes like that. So it does take a lot of courage to kind of face up to that. And now, the first little bit, I noticed that I was a bit alienated by some people. They were kind of, when they'd see me in public, they kind of wouldn't really talk to me, because I guess they figure, oh, maybe he's going through something. No, I'm not going. I've been saying this stuff pretty much since I was a kid. Now I'm just reporting on the actual events that I can actually track. That's the only difference. The Akula Typhoon came out 1 year after I was born. You know what I mean? I've known about the Akula Typhoon. When I saw all the terror weapons after the so-called collapse of the Soviet Union, I started seeing these things. I was like, wow, the MiG-29, what an aircraft. The Russians could have cleaned their clocks on a lot of stuff. Were they the boogeyman? Yes and no. But you have to understand, it's escalated. There's no good guys here. When we're talking the elites, there are no good guys. The governments are the ones that are the problem. They're the ones that are keeping this thing going. And they're only able to keep it going because of the people that are just following orders, doing their duty. These are the people that, they need to step up to the plate. They need to take that courage. But, it's like, okay, you want me to launch? Okay, all the nuclear staff, we're not launching. But you have to, if you don't work on a nuclear disarmament, we're not launching. So in an event that they launch, the winner takes all, we're going to just give it to them. You do that, they do that in China, they do that. Sure, people in China will get shot. Because they allowed it to get that far. Hence why communism is one of the biggest threats to humanity. Because it cracks down on its dissidents. You have whistleblowers in the United States saying, look, the NSA is using Soviet-style infiltration in order so that it can do that. It's setting itself up to be a communist China. That's what that information is for. It's if you ever seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, it's thought crime. We're going to keep this data on you so that we can use it against you later. But if you've got nothing to hide, you should have nothing to worry about. Throw the question back. Well, if I've done nothing wrong, you have no reason to look at me. Or listen to me, or collect my data. That type of thing. But that's the world we live in. And until you call that stuff out, it's one who stands, one who stands against the many is usually the one that wakes up the most, out of many comes one. and that's all it takes sometimes. You just need that right voice. But you can't get that without sharing it around. So you will see all the updates. I believe 2014 is going to be a very critical year. Playing the chess game the way we've been playing it, if you've been following, every piece is on the board right now. Every piece is on the board. Now it's just a matter of wild cards, pitfalls, unforeseen black swans. It's only a matter of time before a Chinese and American or a Chinese and Japanese warship start shooting at each other. We're at, if you've been following particularly the last, say, 5 or 6 2013 updates, again, this is why you have to go over the old ones. Once you start seeing what's going on, then you're like, again, the probability, you have one car on the road, your likelihood of ever hitting another car is next to zero. You put 2 cars on the road, maybe it's possible, but you're more likely to win a lottery 10 times before that would ever happen. Put 200 cars on the road, the odds go up significantly. You put 23,000 cars on the road, you're going to have a pinball game at some point. The probability will go down to, it'll count down to 0. Nukes are the same thing. And that's a pinball game that is going to be quite catastrophic. So we are counting down to the epi event of what it's going to be, what's going to trigger it. Nobody knows. I don't give the prediction of the dates and times because it's just the intensity of the times, and we've, since the first nuclear bomb, we've had this, but the intensity of it is now on so many different fronts. You know, it's an inevitability. We are going to have a thermonuclear war. So, or you could start speaking out against it, or you could start to refuse orders. It's really the law enforcement, and particularly the military, the strategic militaries around the world, Russia, China. If you can get a message out to those guys, they need to de-brainwash and let some sanity prevail, because the elites are not sane. They are insane. They are completely crazy. Think about it this way: the only country to denuclearize its weapons program, South Africa. And that country's in a hellhole right now. You know what I mean? Think about that. That's the world we're living in. Okay, when they're leading by example, there is absolutely no reason why the United States, Russia, and China should not be leading by example to get rid of the nuclear weapons. And that's got a long road ahead of us. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Happy New Year early Happy New Year. And hopefully it will be a good New Year. And hopefully we'll make some more gains on that front. Rate, subscribe, do share. Again, we have to face this problem together. You know, hang together or hang alone. It's up to you, but I'd rather hang with you, you know. So, yeah, share it, like it, spread it around. You don't have to put it into people's face to scare them away from it. Let people come to it. The idea of making the videos is to draw people in so that they can listen in the comfort of their own home without having to be in that awkward conversation. They can listen to it and then try to strategize a way of how to bring it out to their friends, their families, how to prepare, because it's something that's going to happen. We just don't know when. So we got to prepare for it. Not preparing is not an option at this point. All right, so rate, subscribe, definitely comment, share, like, and Happy New Year, and I'll keep, as soon as I get new news, I'll let you know. Okay, hi and welcome. I kind of got cut off on my last video. My battery died. Today I just cannot tell the time by the sun. It's been exactly like this from the time I woke up. It's probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I have no idea what time. It's just a gloomy day. You know, when I tell people why wind and solar don't necessarily work around here in the wintertime, well, there's the flagpole. There's no wind. Obviously, the solar isn't going to work. But anyway, just one of those things. So we have to come up with different solutions to different problems. And I wanted to just finish up on my World War III update for 2013 going into 2014 in a couple of days from the making of this video. And I just wanted to say that you know, we really need to prioritize what our real threats are in this world and what the real problems are. First threat, you could say, is communism, because that's what's kind of communism light, progressivism, whatever you want to say, authoritarianism, all those things that are coming from a very handful of people that is dictating over the populations of people, because a handful of people think that people are too stupid to self-rule and stuff like that. No, I'm not one of those utopian type of people that think, well, everybody can just go about their business, because I know that just does not work. Long before we've had modern day governments, you know, every form of government has failed at some point in history. Every form. But we're at a time in history where we have the technology to be the most enlightened. And the most enlightening part of technology is education. Basically, the more you know, the less you need. So this is why I do all the videos that I do on World War III updates. Very uncomfortable subject and stuff like that, and there's just so many things to cover that you just can't cover it. You can't fast sum it up, hence why my videos are typically so long, and hence why I do mini-series. I do like you know, parts 1 to, so there's some mini-series I did 15 parts to, because for those who really want to be informed and know what's going on in the world, just to give you the fast kind of news bite, you know, they did this, they did that. You need to understand why they're doing that to really paint a very clear picture of what the elites are up to, what the you know, all these struggling factions, whether they're religious, whether they're just corruption, whether it's actual power struggles. There's so many different factions that play into this. And